Hello everyone, welcome back to the course. In this video we will introduce you to the basic concepts that we use in discussing the socio-technical complexity of infrastructure systems. For this purpose we have provided a glossary of important terms that we use throughout the course. Please read through it and familiarize yourself with these terms and what they mean. What you should first wonder about is, what is the definition of infrastructure? Or what is a useful definition of infrastructure? If you think about infrastructures, the first thing that probably comes to mind is a highway, or a railroad network, or any other large-scale technological system. Imagine cables, pipelines, roads, or rail that interconnect things like people, buildings, and cities. The scale of this system may be local or regional, as in the case of drinking water and sewage infrastructure. However, most of today's infrastructure systems cross national borders. They span entire continents or even the globe. Think of electricity infrastructure and, of course, telecommunication networks and the internet. If your focus is on the physical reality, then you will appreciate infrastructures as truly impressive feats of engineering. They are the megastructures of modern times. Infrastructures are incredibly complex physical networks, composed of millions of links and nodes. We can also think of the technological expert knowledge that we need to design, build, maintain, and operate these infrastructures. Without science and engineering knowledge, infrastructures could never have been brought into being. They physically manifest themselves in our landscape in the form of roads, railways, airports, seaports, lines, and other capital-intensive hardware. However, the technological or physical dimension is only part of the story of infrastructure. A social scientist studying infrastructure will see a social system in which millions of users are interconnected. He will also see a system that connects the producers with the users of a specific service. And what the social scientist sees is as relevant as what the engineering scientist sees. So, infrastructures have a physical and a social dimension. And even if, for the sake of scientific analysis, we tend to separate the two dimensions, they cannot be separated in practice. For example, car owners are not likely to switch to electric vehicles if they cost much more than a conventional vehicle, or if there are only limited means for charging them. One of our challenges in this course is therefore to deeply understand infrastructures as socio-technical systems. In such systems, a complex physical network is intertwined with a complex social network. Each infrastructure system was brought into being to provide a specific service that we consider essential for our well-being, for socio-economic development. The provision of safe drinking water and the treatment of wastewater and solid wastes are obviously essential for public health. Infrastructures for mobility of people and goods have allowed us to explore the world. They have expanded markets and enabled global trade. In modern societies, everything depends on the uninterrupted supply of electricity, communication, and information services. In fact, infrastructure-related services are so essential that national governments take responsibility for the accessibility, availability, affordability, and social acceptability of these services. This may imply that the infrastructure is owned and operated by a government body. However, as we will see, there are alternative ways to ensure the reliability and quality of infrastructure-related services. Let us take the example of the electricity infrastructure. The first true electricity infrastructure came online in 1882. It consisted of a single coal-fired generator providing power to the light bulbs of 59 customers within a New York neighborhood. Soon, similar systems sprouted in major cities around the world. Eventually, these local neighborhood systems were expanded to link entire urban areas with a diversity of electrical devices and multiple generators operating simultaneously. Gradually, these isolated urban grids were linked to provide backup power and improve stability. They were extended to connect progressively larger and more remote power generation facilities. Today's electricity infrastructures link these formerly separate networks into national and even supranational power systems. Moreover, these power systems are fed by an increasingly powerful and technologically diverse array of generators delivering electricity for our daily needs. Throughout most of the 20th century, the key tasks of electricity generation, transmission, distribution, and supply were concentrated within a single organization per country, a so-called vertically integrated utility. In many countries, this single organization was a public monopoly. In the case of a private monopoly, it was for certain heavily regulated by the government to safeguard affordability, availability, safety, and other public values. In recent decades, however, processes of infrastructure reform have induced so-called vertical unbundling of the electricity value chain. In many countries, power generation has largely been privatized and now takes place in a competitive market. Similarly, energy wholesale and even energy retail markets have in many countries been opened up to competition. With these markets, new players have entered the scene, such as market operators, traders, and brokers. In between power generation and supply to end users is the transport over grids. These grids are still owned, operated, and planned by monopolistic system operators. They are known as TSOs, transmission system operators, and DSOs, distribution system operators. Why is there no competition between electricity grids? This is because the grid is a natural monopoly. The existing infrastructure network was established over many decades and represents a massive capital cost. The cost of building a competing grid is simply too high. This is the case for many infrastructure networks. However, new technologies may change that picture. In the world of information and telecommunication services, for example, we have seen competing networks come up over the past 2 decades, both fixed and wireless networks. As you can see, the social system has become much more complex as a consequence of electricity infrastructure reform. Meanwhile, in the electricity infrastructure, new technologies are being introduced, for example, to farm wind and solar power.